Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, hunger across East Africa could become a catastrophe without an injection of funds to the region's most vulnerable communities. Around 13 million people are facing severe hunger in the Horn of Africa because of persistent drought. Also, those droughts and the worsening effects of climate change across the continent affect Africa's water security. As the World Water Forum continues in Dakar, researchers say that a holistic approach is needed for change. And in DR Congo, endangered gorillas and other apes are being given some TLC. Staff at the Lwiro Ape Rehabilitation Center, nurses wounded and traumatized animals back to health. But first, about 13 million people across East Africa face severe hunger and risks escalating into a catastrophe without more international support. International aid group Oxfam has warned that as the world's attention focuses on the humanitarian emergency caused by the war in Ukraine, East Africa's crisis has disappeared off the global agenda. Hundreds of thousands risk death, but only 3% of the $6 billion needed has been raised for food aid. Oxfam's chief has said to donors that it's not an either-or situation and asked for help for all those facing humanitarian crises. Ethiopia, Kenya and Somalia face the driest conditions since 1981. In Somalia, drought has forced thousands into displacement camps on the outskirts of major cities. Laurent Berstecker with more.
Habiba Iman's village hadn't seen a drop of rain in over 2 years when she decided to leave. After days walking in the scorching heat, the 61-year-old and her children settled in this informal camp. Half a year later, she says she hasn't received any help or support and does what she can to get by.
No one is helping us. We have no food. We have no water. We even have no clothes and no materials for shelter. Every day I go out and knock on houses in town to beg so that my children can eat.
Their harvests destroyed by drought, thousands of Somali families have been fleeing the countryside in search of alternatives. The capital, Mogadishu alone, has seen over 120,000 new arrivals since January. Most of them settle in displacement camps like this one, where already limited services such as water and sanitation have become stretched to the limit. Humanitarian organizations like the Red Cross and the World Food Programme have stepped in to help and provide crucial relief, but even their efforts aren't enough.
Those people have lost everything behind them, that is livestock or agriculture, and they came completely in need of food, shelter, water, health care, everything.
Somalia is experiencing its third and worst drought in a decade, transforming once fertile areas into arid wastelands. An estimated 4 million Somalis, nearly half of them children, could be at risk of malnutrition if the rains don't come by April.
Well, the droughts in East Africa and the worsening effects of climate change are moving Africa further away from water security. Access to water goes beyond its environmental availability. As the World Water Forum continues in Dakar, with scientists and policymakers discussing challenges on this front, Egypt, which is predominantly desert, has emerged as Africa's most water-secure country. Now, services, infrastructure and governance have a big impact. 19 African countries are ranked as water insecure, with Somalia, Chad and Niger amongst the worst off. Now, researchers are saying that change is needed on a number of fronts.
Technology and the contribution of digital technology will not be enough. We must certainly innovate, always innovate, pump, transfer, desalinate, recycle, and increase the amount of water available. But we also need to change our habits and behaviors. Only then will we be able to share water for people and water for nature.
So infrastructure can make or break a community's water security. In Cape Town, dozens of neighbourhoods, many in townships, face acute shortages. Shirley Sitman tells us more.
These Cape Town residents never thought they would have to walk around their neighborhood searching for water. But that is what they have been doing since their own taps have turned dry.
We've got no choice but to wake up in the morning and try to fill your buckets as much as you can.
They have faced water shortages before, like 4 years ago during the historic drought. This is what water reservoirs looked like at the time. Now, the same reservoirs are full. Yet some areas have little access to water.
It is actually worse. It is worse now. Because we knew at that time, we knew that we're sitting with a problem here, with a water problem. But it is actually worse than that, because we do have water and we know that.
In the past 25 years, Cape Town's population has doubled, but not the volume of the city's reservoirs. Water pipes and infrastructures are also reportedly in a bad state. But the official in charge of water distribution said the city is not to blame.
During the period of COVID-19, at least 70 new illegal informal settlements had been erected across our city. And the city then is expected to provide basic services to those settlements, which is difficult to do.
Those settlements are in part due to COVID. People who have lost their jobs and homes under lockdown built shacks in unauthorized areas. The crisis, though, goes far beyond those settlements. Some 30 neighborhoods have little running water.
A former Central African militia boss has appeared before the International Criminal Court in The Hague on charges of war crimes. Maxime Mokom led anti-Balaka fighters who allegedly carried out crimes against humanity in Central African Republic in 2013 and 2014. Mokom was handed over to the ICC by Chad on Monday and faces accusations that include murder, torture and mutilation. His next hearing to confirm the charges is set for next January. And fully vaccinated travellers can now head to South Africa without a PCR test. President Cyril Ramaphosa's announced the latest relaxation of COVID-19 precautions. The country has been the worst hit by the pandemic on the continent, but new infection rates have slowed and deaths have dropped off. Vaccinated people or those who test negative will also be allowed back into public entertainment spaces, and indoor and outdoor venues will now be able to operate at half capacity. Guinea's interim leader has launched a 6-week reconciliation conference. Ex-Special Forces Commander Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya seized power in a coup in September. He's since been sworn in as interim president. Now, that coup followed months of discontent with the government, and Doumbouya has since promised to restore civilian rule, although no date has been set for that. The conference is due to run until the 29th of April, but several political groups are boycotting the talks. On the other front, since the coup, food prices in the country have shot up, as our correspondents report.
Residents of Koronti in the heart of Conakry are struggling to make ends meet. Hajatu Bangura is a mother of 3 and lives here with her family. She's felt the pinch a lot more in recent weeks.
The transitional president promised us that from January onwards market prices would improve, but things are only getting worse. We can often go for 2 days without cooking. It's difficult. With only €2 at the market, we can't even buy fish.
Sugar, flour, rice and oil have all gone up recently because of higher customs tariffs. At the main market in Medina, Sekou Diallo, an importer, hopes the new government will reverse the trend.
The colonel and the prime minister must review the taxes at the port and customs. It's essential.
Authorities say that they are aware of the difficulties faced by Guineans. According to the government spokesman, change is coming.
We're trying to make efforts so that lower prices that Guineans will see will not only be a cyclical solution, but will become sustainable. This despite the debt that we inherited, over $400 million of debt.
With Ramadan less than a month away, Guineans are worried about further price hikes at a time when food is at the heart of celebrations with friends and family.
And finally, we head to eastern DR Congo, where endangered gorillas, chimpanzees and other apes are being given some TLC. Staff take in wounded animals, many of whom have been rescued from poachers, and nurse the traumatised animals back to health.
The Kahuzi-Biega National Park in the east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo stretches over 6,000 square kilometres. 250 eastern lowland gorillas live among its forests and grasslands. The park is home to the largest known population of the primate, now classified as critically endangered.
In the Bonane family, there are 4 babies. They live in the wild. The gorillas only need security, that's it. If they have security, the gorillas grow very easily and very quickly.
But security is a problem. Many armed groups operate in the region around the park. 2 civil wars have decimated the wildlife populations here since the reserve's creation in 1970. On its edge, the Lwiro Primate Rehabilitation Centre cares for injured animals.
We try to feed them here at least once a day from 9 o'clock. We arrive here at 6:30 a.m. We give them the meatballs, the bananas, and if they are sick animals, that's when we take the opportunity to give them medicine.
The sanctuary is home to more than 100 chimpanzees, as well as some bonobos and baboons. Most ended up here after rangers confiscated them from poachers. This monkey's arm had to be amputated. Recovery can take weeks or months, depending on the severity of the injury.
First of all, we try to put everything in place to save the animal's life. If it's a case of injury or another serious case, we can start by looking at how to stop the bleeding and then anesthetize the animal, give it stitches and bring it back to its cage.
The cages are cramped after the vast spaces of the forest. But since November 2020, not a single animal has been released back into the wild because of ongoing fighting.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.